Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. So this is one of those weeks that had the potential to be very frustrating if I wasn't going to get creative with things. Because you would think, like the last couple of years, it absolutely would. All the Christmas music is going away, which leads to big spikes and a lot of returns, plus the onset of competing mini album bombs from Lil Durk and Playboi Carti. There is a lot going on. In the latter case, yeah, not really much I can do about that. It'll make for a long episode anyway. But in the former case, I'm gonna change things up just a little bit, take a bit of a shortcut, because I don't have to defer to Billboard's woeful inadequacies in handling their recurrent rules, especially when it all serves to make my life and editing job a lot more complicated. So stay tuned for how I handle that, and please do not get that angry at me, because I don't have time for it. But for now, though, our top 10, where to the surprise of nobody, Mood by 24K Golden featuring E&D has reclaimed the number 1. Still rules radio. It was the one song that held out against all the holiday music, and thanks to strong sales and streaming still, I'm not hearing the obvious challenger. I mean, Positions by Ariana Grande vaulted back to number 2, but right now she is lagging in every category to make up ground, and I'm just not seeing that happen. What I find funnier is that in one of the biggest returns in chart history, Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, it's back on the Hot 100 at number 3. I did predict this would happen, but not to this extent. Most because I'm not sure I could have predicted the sales and radio revival it got. Partially likely buoyed by year-end countdowns, but still. Then we got Holy by Justin Bieber featuring Chance the Rapper back at number 4, and I will say I was kind of surprised by how much this was forced back around the holidays. I thought it would play well then, but the radio and sales are still good, that's why it's here. Then we got Dynamite by BTS back at number 5, and honestly at this point I'm kind of shocked the stands have this much disposable income to keep giving this more sales boost to the group's most anonymous song. And given how much the radio is gone, I'm not seeing this lasting. Then we got Go Crazy by Chris Brown and Young Thug at number 6. I've tried my best to avoid this song, but given how goddamn huge it is on the radio, that's pretty much the only reason that it's actually here. Then we got Drake and Lil Durk back with Laugh Now, Cry Later at number 7. I have to think some of this is due to Lil Durk's traction this week as it peaked on the radio, but I would not be all that surprised to see this fall off sharply in the near future, at least until Drake's album officially drops. Then, bucking against all my hopeful expectations, we got I Hope by Gabby Barrett featuring Charlie Puth at number 8. It's here because of the same year-end chart radio surge that's already gone. I don't expect much more to come out of this. But we aren't all done with Christmas music just yet, because All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey is still here at number 9. Probably won't be next week, but again, it's got a bit of traction, but the future is right below it. At number 10, as Levitating by Dua Lipa featuring DaBaby has now cracked the top 10. Now, this song's success is not guaranteed. Streaming isn't really there to match up with the great sales on the radio, but as of now, I'm happy to see it this high. It's a really good song, even if it's not Love Again. But you know what? Enough about me complaining here. Our losers and dropouts, and it's basically just holiday music all the way down. And the dropouts, the only one that might barely be worth mentioning is Nat by Eminem, basically being a complete non-starter to the shock of no one. And the losers, again, it's all holiday music. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee at number 12. Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms at 15. It's a Holly Jolly Christmas at 17. It's the Most Wonderful Time by Andy Williams at 28. Run Rudolph Run by Chuck Berry at 29. Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano at 39. Let It Snow by Dean Martin at 41. The Christmas Song by Nat King Cole at 44. Underneath the Tree by Kelly Clarkson at 50. And Take Me Home for Christmas by Dan and Shay is at 89. I'm still a little bit shocked that last one had enough traction to even stick around this long. I'll say that, even if I kinda like the song. But now we gotta go to our gains and returns. And here's the problem. When so many songs in the top 50 fall away seasonally, the entire chart really has to shift to correct to that. Ergo, 20 returning entries, and 48 gains. That's nearly half the Hot 100 going up, and there's no added context to be provided as to why everything went up, so it'd basically just be me listing it, and that's kind of a waste of my time, especially when outside of the top 10, there are literally only 6 songs that didn't really move or aren't new arrivals. So I'm going to talk about those instead. Once again, Jack Harlow seemed to stall out with Tyler Hero and Way Out with Big Sean stuck at 68 and 98 respectively. Without You by Kid Laroi unfortunately held on at 65. Throat Baby Go Baby by BRS Cash looked like it lost all its momentum at 66. Bishota by Karol G couldn't make up more traction at 85. And Took Her to the O by Late King Von is at 94. Now look, if you want a list of all of our gains, I've actually attached a link to a Google spreadsheet in the description that's got all of them. Again, it's not an adequate use of my time to just list off every single shift here when we already have an overloaded episode. I'm still in the middle of working on year-end content on my main channel, and look, if Billboard can't be asked to write coherent, recurrent policy surrounding their holiday music, I don't know why I'm bothering, especially given that I'm still going to mention all the returns, just so I can give you a rough idea of what actually came back here. And sadly, there's not too much of a story here either, mostly just big returns from songs that went recurrent but had just enough weeks to break back high enough. I've already mentioned Blinding Lights, but that's also the reason that Rockstar by DaBaby featuring Roddy Ricch is at 26, or Before You Go by Louis Capaldi is at 30, or same with Savage Love by Josh 685 and Jason Derulo at 31, or More Than My Hometown by Morgan Wallen at 33, or What's Poppin' by Jack Harlow and crew in 34, or I Should Probably Go to Bed by Dan Shay at 37, or Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles at 47. But then things started to get a little strange, as country made a big return this week with Pretty Heart by Parker McCollum at 40, Happy Anywhere by Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani at 42, Beers and Sunshine by Darius Rucker at 76, What's Your Country Song by Thomas Rhett at 80, Ain't Always the Cowboy by John Party at 83, and Happy Does by Kenny Chesney at 87. Now the rest of our returns, they're scattered to say the least. BS by Jhené Aiko and Her seems committed to some sort of run at 59. Stay Down by Lil Durk, Black, and Young Thug is at 73 thanks to the album boost. Midnight Sky by Miley Cyrus is trying to hold on at 80. Take You Dancing by Jason Derulo is trying to start another US run at 79. And So Done by Kid Laroi is at 96 because apparently we can't even have nice things this year. Now what interests me here is the return of Save Your Tears by The Weeknd at 95. It looks like it's been a slow burning single for a while now. It just got the video, so I don't know how much traction it'll have, but it'll be interesting to see regardless. Well anyway, we've got comfortably over a dozen new songs, so let's get things started with number 100, The Good Ones by Gabby, Barrett. He's on I'm kind of at a loss with how to approach this, because on the surface it's pretty basic. It's a list-driven Nashville country love song, the sort of thing churned out by Music Row all the damn time. But am I the only one kind of skeeved out by the fact that Gabby Barrett frames this song about her now husband that he's one of the good ones? Even beyond some of the controversy that they've had, it's just a phrase that's always rubbed me the wrong way, and it feels weird in the context of a love song like this. But really, I don't even need to go there, because the larger problem is that the production is hideous. Who told anyone that the flat, squonking synth buzz, which is all over this song, is that what it needed slathered over the mix, along with all the gutless percussion and male backing vocals that really clash with Gabby Barrett's sharper tone? Again, the production is gonna ruin her career before any controversy does. And even then, this ain't good. Number 99, Metamorphosis by Playboi Carti featuring Kid Cudi.
When you feel like this, can't nobody tell you shit.
Alright, I'll admit it. It's probably my favorite Playboi Carti song to date. And yeah, a significant part of it is actually linked to Kid Cudi being here humming over the gargled synth and the overweight bass line, but it provides enough thickened melodic foundation for Playboi Carti to spew his squeaky ad-libs and underweight bragging. And on some level, that is a natural compliment for Kid Cudi to ramp up his own off-kilter atmosphere going into his verse, which is just as empty as the rest of the flexing, which is more common than many of his fans will ever admit. But when he actually half croons over the final 4 bars guitars, there's a bit of magnetism there. I mean, there's still problems with this. It runs a lot longer than it should, and I'm not sure the atmosphere is quite strong enough to offset the emptiness and questionable lack of tune. But you know what? At least for now, it's fine. I'll take it. Number 97, Just the Way by Parmalee and Blanco Brown.
What you call your imperfections, I call beautiful, babe.
And here I was thinking that Chase Rice would be the last of the third stringers to try to trend up in country, but no. Turns out in following a weirdly downbeat EP from Blanco Brown that went nowhere, and Parmalee's utter inability to stick to a consistent sound this entire decade, we've got this collaboration that's charting over a year late since its release, and what it sounds like they're trying to do is remake One Direction's What Makes You Beautiful or Little Things, but with a cloying dollop of religion dropped in to emphasize how it's just how God made you, girl. But he also made Parmalee and Blanco Brown all for loving you. And yet the bizarre thing is I'm not sure what sound in mainstream country they're trying to approach here. You'd think with the fake hand clap and the trap beat and Blanco Brown showing up, they'd be going for more the whole modern boyfriend country that's got some trap elements. But then the rest of Parmalee comes in for the hook, and they're making the sort of underweight, overprocessed slurry you got from the most disposable bro country bands in the mid-2010s. You know, just like Parmalee. Yeah, you know what, if you're looking for every reason in the world this took so long to chart, it's how much of an incoherent mess this winds up. It's a leftover that's charting late. Also, him noting the shape of her face when she takes a shot, it's so utterly bizarre that I have to mention it, but yeah, wow. This is bad. Number 93, Death Ain't Easy by Lil Durk.
Who told me death is easy?
Okay, 4 Lil Durk songs that broke through this week courtesy of his late December album drop. I'll admit I had expectations this time. I really wanted to hear that moment where he took the next step and he elevated his sound. Unfortunately, I won't say he did it here. The hook feels weirdly washed out. As much as I might like the melody, the trap percussion can still feel weirdly cheap. And while for the first half of the verse, it paints a pretty harsh picture of Lil Durk trying to cope with his brothers going to jail or dying in the streets, accentuated by that intro from the late King Von. By the second half, it sadly slides into a brag and a complaint where he talks about women trying to steal babies out of his testicles. And then he references an enemy who got shot and suffered some brain damage, and Lil Durk refers to him as a vegetable. Yeah, congrats dude, you killed a fair amount of my goodwill towards your struggle pretty fast, so yeah, let's keep moving. Ugh. Number 92, New Neon by Playboi Carti.
Whole lot of hoe, whole lot of ass. You need that spread, hold on. Put away my flag, hold on.
Whereas, shocker, for Playboi Carti, I have no expectations, and this is actually a deeper album cut, with some splashy, sparkling synths warping off the stuttering trap beat. And I'll say it, even if it proves remarkably easy to tune out everything Playboi Carti's actually saying, because it's the same sort of forgettable flexing that you always get from him, I do think the production might have promise, at the very least. I would also say it's probably one of Playboi Carti's more conventional songs when it comes to his vocal delivery, so that's probably why it's charting, but otherwise, just not enough here that really grabs me, so let's move on. Number 91, Down to One by Luke.
Listen to one more song, thinking I want more than just one night out here with you alone.
So I remember being a little bit kinder to Luke Bryan's last album, mostly because it just kind of was forgettable overall and didn't give me a lot to work with. And this wasn't one of the songs that really attracted a lot of attention when I reviewed the album, mostly because it's emblematic of a lot of his issues. It's really overproduced with some filmy percussion that for some reason leaves most of the limp groove and the guitar tone in order to simmer in the background. I'll say it again, it sounds like something Dierks Bentley would have dropped in 2016, which highlights exactly how far behind the times Luke Bryan really is. And yeah, Luke Bryan might be kind of credible and sincere in trying to sell a love song, as he is a pretty good singer, but there's little intimacy to this arrangement, and that just gets distracting, especially with the lyrics that are trying to convey that love-struck finale vibe as the album closer. But in the end, look, like the album, just kind of forgettable. Let's move on. Number 90, Vamp Anthem by Playboi Carti.
That's outside, little bitch, you better be ready. When the stars align, little bitch, you better be ready. I won't take my time, little bitch, you know I'm ready.
You know, I'll say this for Playboi Carti, his fans seem devoted enough to go digging for the songs they like, which in contrast to a lot of album bombs, those are normally just the first couple songs on the album, until you realize that most of these songs are just right after meh, which most people seem to miss is not at meh. I bring this all up because Vamp Anthem is not nearly interesting enough to justify more attention, nor particularly good. Chopping up the gothic organ line, which is actually just a replay of a Bach piece, with all that trap groove, it only dampens any attempted atmosphere and it feels even more chintzy, and then he calls the ops fairies. Not the first time Playboi Carti's thrown out the casual homophobia. Charming. And when the rest of the content is by the numbers flexing and the song feels barely finished, nothing worth your caring about. Let's move on. Number 88, Monsters by All Time Low, featuring blackbear and Demi Lovato.
We want to hide. Why do I run back to you like I don't mind if you fuck up my life?
Alright, time for context. I didn't mention that All Time Low collaborated with blackbear when I reviewed their album Wake Up Sunshine last year, mostly because there were better songs on that album like Melancholy Kaleidoscope that deserved way more attention, and even despite the blackbear verse, you can tell that he was dropped onto the song for a cheap crossover on a clunky bad relationship song that is by the numbers in pop punk. I certainly did not expect a remix of Demi Lovato, making a welcome and rather overdue return to pop rock, and to drive this to All Time Low's second ever charting single in the band's career on the Hot 100. Now, I will say that Demi Lovato does make this marginally better. She adds some balance to the toxic relationship, even if her vocals feel weirdly flat in the mix, and even as she belts over the final hook, she's not recapturing the magic of when she took over Irresistible from Fall Out Boy. But I'm not even sure that's the template. If anything, it feels like trying to get what Forget Me 2 brought to Machine Gun Kelly and Halsey, but with a far weaker groove and really a lot less chemistry. So yeah, not really on board with both the original or the remix, even if I kind of want to be. Just saying. Number 86, Refugee by Lil Durk.
I went to sleep smoking on the backwood and I'm burning the carpet. I grew up in vacant apartments, they pressing up pills retarded. They don't even care if niggas steady down from it, they just flooding the market.
Okay, not a good impression on the first song. Let's try again. And again, I find myself struggling to like this more. Yeah, Durk isn't really staying on topic as he rambles through street life to seeing success to near constant drug abuse and how he evades consequences, but I do get that's part of the point of a song with a single verse and no hook, but that highlights the larger issue, in that there's just very little here. The bassy trap groove doesn't complement the increasingly filmy synths, and I don't even think the vocal mixing around Lil Durk's voice is all that great, as he sounds even rougher than usual as he strings together his bars. If anything, the song just feels kind of half-finished and rushed, and given how early it was placed on the album, maybe not a good sign. Just saying. Number 82, Go to the Moon by Playboi Carti featuring Kanye West.
Pay you back tomorrow, then left with a scammer with a Gucci hat for Marshalls. Slept with him, then woke up, saw his watch was a fossil.
Now granted, this was also placed second on the album. Maybe it was a warning sign that I wasn't gonna like what I heard, because Kanye trying to infuse his flexing with pretensions towards religion makes my skin crawl. Yes, he sounded a little bit more focused against the basic groove from Wheezy once he actually got on the groove, and a lot of the string sample slips in behind him, and he's once again trying to highlight some of the emptiness of all of his flexing. So is he just on a Playboi Carti album to take the piss here? Really? But then again, we also got the corniness coming through the line, "You always asking for Buddha, you a Buddha pest." And then we got Playboi Carti, who once again adds in increasingly stale ad-libs and nothing else. Let's move on. Number 72, Slayer by Playboi Carti.
Whole lot of mob shit, whole lot of mob, whole lot of mob shit, whole lot of mob shit, whole lot of mob, whole lot of mob shit, whole lot of mob shit, whole lot of mob, whole lot of mob shit.
Okay, let me start by saying that if Playboi Carti wanted to reference the thrash metal band Slayer, I'm actually not against it on principle, but you actually gotta do something with it. You can try to appropriate all the menace and over-the-top subject matter of one of the big four, but if all you're gonna do is make a few paltry references to a demon car and all sorts of decadent hedonism, well, okay, the latter stuff puts you in the right territory, but this is the definition of someone who wants to appropriate the image of vintage heavy metal without actually committing to it. I'm normally the last person to call out being a fake metalhead, But come on, is anyone buying this? I mean, I hated it when Post Malone tried it with Rockstar and 21 Savage, and Playboi Carti has even less runway here, especially for as many times as he tries to say that he's punk, or he's metal, or he's evil. He can't sell it. The chirpy vocals, the desaturated guitar that's more in a major key. It doesn't even feel like he's trying for any sort of convincing atmosphere. If he's being sincere, it's incompetent at best. And if it's a piss take on Slayer, and that's giving Playboi Carti way more credit than he deserves, but I'm sorry, even if it's a piss take, I'm laughing it out of the room. Otherwise, once again, it's just not worth caring about. Not terrible, but not good either. Number 71, Redman by Lil Durk.
You gotta ride with your gun that time you outside in the shot. You ain't never had that feeling in your stomach, you gon' die. Don't too many niggas send money to that jail, so I try.
Okay, third time's the charm here, right? Well, here's the thing. It's barely a minute and a half, and it's probably the best thing I've heard from him thus yet. The hook is short but effective. The piano is built into the trap drill percussion effectively to make the groove a bit more unstable. And the short verse lets Lil Durk get straight into his deeply pessimistic view of his life in upcoming years. With too many of his friends in jail or dead, and he knows that he's on the exact same path. There's no time, there's no chance to pull away, it's just bleak all the way through, and as such it might be one of his best. It works. Number 53, Still Trappin' by Lil Durk and King Von.
Shit that had you choking and got Tuka killed. Niggas chasing clout and claiming bodies they ain't do for real. And my bitch got ass shots, but I promise that this strap is real.
Okay, this is another one where I had some expectations. Hitmakers on production, the late King Von handling a verse and the hook. This could be pretty killer, and yeah, for the most part it actually is. The thicker knock of the bass off the trap percussion, that's a nasty groove. The minimalist piano, the production might be some of the most ominous Lil Durk has had in a while, and King Von proves that just how much promise was lost with his sneering and imposing delivery. Yeah, a lot of the song is gang posturing, but there's a real contrast between King Von, who's still very much in the trenches at the time, versus Lil Durk, who was on his way out, but could see just how many ways he'd get pulled back in. Now, I do think the flows are a bit slapdash as a whole, but a song like this, it really is all about mood and intimidation, and it kinda nails both. Really damn solid. I dig this. And finally, number 38, Good Days by SZA.
Still wanna try, still believe in good days. Always inside, good that they've been in my mind.
I don't know what's going on with this album rollout for SZA. This is apparently her next single, actually co-written by Jacob Collier, who is a name I did not expect to show up alongside hers, and it was first teased back in mid-2020 to be released on Christmas this last year, and yet to my pleasant surprise, Collier's presence is more felt in the more complex acoustic arrangement and some of the crooning synthetic backing vocals than on the rest of the production, which remains as thick and organic as ever. Now that does make the contrast with the synths a bit jarring. It's not quite as clean of a blend as you would hope, but that might actually work pretty effectively with how well SZA handles a slightly faster cadence with optimism towards the days ahead. But now what I find interesting is that for as much as SZA wants to be on her empty mind shit, implying a little bit more of a meditative vibe, the song is more jittery and anxious, more conscious of what needs to be done to settle old grievances, to leave matters of the past behind you, and cherish moments of youth that slip away so damn fast. And as of now, I do like it a decent bit, but I'm not sure it's grabbing me as deeply as I'd like. This is a definition of R&B that needs a little bit of time to sit and really grow with me, but I would argue it's better than Hit Different, and it helps me feel kind of excited for that next SZA album. Whenever that's gonna happen. Top, you can make that happen anytime. But that was our week. And I don't know how I feel about it. Yeah, it ran long, but there are some interesting notes of promise for 2021 that are encouraging. Which is, well, I'm giving the best of the week to Lil Durk's Redman. I actually have a tie for honorable mention, with Good Days by SZA and Still Trappin' by Lil Durk and the late King Von. Worst of the week, though, I'm tempted to give at least one slot to Playboi Carti, but let's be real, the worst of Whole Lotta Red didn't chart. And ergo, the worst of the week is going to Just the Way by Parmalee and Blanco Bryan, with a tie for dishonorable mention as well, with the good ones by Gabby Barrett, alongside Vamp Anthem from Playboi Carti, because let's be real, casual homophobia was such a failure in atmosphere, you're not getting a pass, dude. Now for next week, see, I just have no idea. With the exodus of Christmas songs and no huge new entries, this could go anywhere. Stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. and I'll see you next time.